So I actually wasn't going to make any videos this week just due to scheduling issues, but I made some time because something big happened. You all got my M1 Mac Mini video over 10,000 views in just under 4 days. That is the best performing video I have ever posted on this channel. I am extremely grateful. Thank you all so much. But on top of the views, you guys also had a ton of questions because apparently this thing is a very confusing, popular, intriguing, whatever you want to call it, product. So I figured that since I didn't answer all those questions in the video, I would answer those questions now. There are going to be other videos that I'm going to make covering the upgraded one I'm going to get, how the one that I currently have is to use in the long term and things like that. But today, we're just answering questions because you all seem to have a lot of them. So let's get started. So one of the first questions I saw was, why not use DaVinci Resolve on your Windows PC since you don't like Adobe Premiere? And I've actually tried DaVinci Resolve. I have it actually installed on the Mac Mini for some testing I'm going to do, but the problem for me is I'm kind of a Final Cut diehard for a couple reasons. The biggest reason being that it just kind of lets me flow through my edit. I don't have to stick to what most video editors would consider a normal workflow. Most of the times I actually do color correction and audio work first, which not a lot of people do. Generally, those are some of the last things to get worked on, but I usually do that first. I'll even listen to music while just cutting out the dead space in my videos, and then once I'm done cleaning the cut up, I will go in and do all the final work without any music in the background and just get it all set. And Final Cut doesn't really bug me about it. It just lets me do whatever I usually do for my edits, whereas Premiere and DaVinci both have the same issue of it's a professional tool. And I don't know why I'm doing air quotes because it is a professional tool. I don't want to be derogatory, but it's professional in the sense that you have an industry standard path to follow. And if you don't do it that way, the edit becomes sort of unwieldy and a mess, and it's irritating. And the biggest thing for me for those programs is that they just don't work for my workflow. I got nothing against the people who use them on a regular basis. In fact, I've seen amazing things made in DaVinci, amazing things made in Premiere. I just happen to prefer Final Cut. And either way, that still doesn't resolve the issue I have with Windows, which is that I just don't trust Windows. I trust it with gaming, barely. And apart from that, when it runs updates, I just sort of prepare myself to have to go and find some driver that got removed or some file that got corrupted and fix it, because this has happened on multiple occasions. And it's not like I don't know how to do troubleshooting. I've been building PCs since like 2007. Oh my God, 2007 was when I started building PCs. But I've been building PCs for a very, very long time. So it's not like I'm unfamiliar with troubleshooting and replacing hardware and installing drivers, but I just don't want to. I just want to run an update and get back to work. And I can do that with a Mac, and I really just have never been able to do that with a PC. So I'm sure DaVinci Resolve, I could learn it. I'm sure I could learn Premiere. I know them well enough to muddle my way through them, but I don't like it. Final Cut just works easier for me, and it's on a Mac, so I don't have to worry about Windows getting rid of something I need. Something else I forgot to mention, it just kind of gets out of your way and lets you just do what you want to do. I kind of said it in that, but that's kind of the big thing, is it just gets out of my way, lets me do my edit the way that I want to. I don't have to follow like a specific path, which is kind of nice. Whereas Premiere, I kind of have to think about how I'm editing before editing, whereas I can just be creative without having some technical thought process behind the creative side of things. But either way, that's enough about Final Cut. Let's move on to the next question. A few other questions I saw pertain to my monitors. One of them was, what monitors are they? And I'll leave a link in the description down there because I don't remember the exact models, but if I find them, I'll link them below. But they're two Dell monitors. I got them because they were HDR500 standard, which was good enough for the kind of videos I was doing. Now that I've bumped up to 10-bit 4K, I might need some better ones, but they'll work for now. But the other question I saw was, can this Mac Mini run two monitors? And I just kind of thought that was funny because two of the clips that I put in the video actually showed me editing my video on one screen with another screen connected to the Mac displaying other things, other windows. So yes, it can run two monitors. I actually showed it in the video. You just need to run a USB Type-C to HDMI adapter to get it to run out. But once you do that, it'll run full resolution up to 4K with two screens. Mine are two 1440p monitors, and they're both running at 60 Hz, no problems. I saw a few questions. This has nothing to do with the Mac Mini. I just thought it was funny. A lot of people commented about my shirt. So the shirt's actually a Mekaku City Actors shirt, one of my favorite animes of all time. And I'll leave a link to it down in the description. I just Googled it and found an Amazon link for it. So I'll leave it down there. And if you're curious about this one, this was sent to me by a fan. It's a Spice and Wolf shirt. If you like anime, leave a thumbs up because anime is awesome. I mean, like, anime is mainly what this channel is about, but I do tech stuff, and the one happened to explode, which is why we're here. Getting back to the Mac, one of the other questions I saw actually had a few different segments. One of them asked, is the Mac Mini good for music production? Which I actually kind of answered in my video. It is. I actually did a cover with multiple synthesized tracks and a few audio tracks with mixing and several plugins, and it handled it better than my MacBook Pro. It barely broke a sweat. So yes, you can use it for music production. The other question they asked was something that I think leads into a bigger issue, which was that they said someone from B&H Photos said that the M1 Mac Mini wasn't good for video editing because they said you need to have a larger GPU. And that is 100% not true. I edit 10-bit, 4K, 24 FPS video constantly on this thing. I've got video projects that are for my own personal use. I've got these videos that I've been making. The video I made about the Mac Mini was edited on the Mac Mini, and it handles it just fine in Final Cut. I've tried it in DaVinci Resolve. I had no playback issues, and that's emulated, which is even more impressive. And render times, as I showed when you export things with Final Cut, are even faster than what I was getting with an i9 MacBook Pro. So yes, it is good. The bigger issue, I think, is that a lot of people are kind of looking at this like a standard PC. You need a big graphics card, you need a big processor, you need a lot of RAM, but because of Apple's insane vertical integration where the GPU, the CPU, the software, the memory, all of that is controlled under one roof, you end up getting optimization in a chip that really shouldn't perform the way it does based on its numbers, but it does. And that's kind of where we're at with the Mac Mini, and that means that things are only going to get better as time moves forward. Now, they did also ask if it would be a good idea to connect a portable monitor so that you can take the Mac Mini with you, and if it was a base model. So yes, I do have a base model. I will be upgrading later to the 16 gigabyte with a terabyte of storage, but yeah, I have the base model. As for your other question, if you're going to try to take a Mac Mini with you and you're going to connect a portable display, you might as well buy a MacBook Pro at that point, because apart from the fan and the no display versus having a display, the Air, the MacBook Pro, and the Mac Mini, from everything I've seen, are running the exact same chip, except I think the MacBook Air has one less graphics core. So if you are debating on taking this machine with you, just get a MacBook Pro, because you can close that up and put it in like a stand like my old MacBook Pro was and hook it up to a monitor and use it like a desktop, and then take it with you and not have to carry like 4 pieces to make it work. So that would be a better option than buying a portable monitor for your Mac Mini. Now, somebody did comment about my MacBook Pro and saying that if the keyboard keeps failing, I just need to stop eating around it and getting crumbs all over it, and I have no idea what you're talking about. No! Another very common question I saw was, can you test this program and see how it performed? And I will be doing a test of that at some point soon. I've actually already sort of begun with a few programs, and I will say with things like the Creative Cloud, performance is actually really good, even though it's being emulated, but I'm going to hold off on that until I can finish up with my test comparing it to my desktop, which is another video I'm going to make, and I'm going to compare it to the 16 gigabyte of RAM, 1 terabyte model when I actually get my hands on that one. So I'm not going to really answer any questions about that here. That will be coming in a later video, but I will say for now, it's looking pretty good. Now, somebody did mention that they saw I was using the Intel version of Logic Pro, and were asking why I didn't just update to the newest version of Logic Pro and then run it in Rosetta mode. And the answer is because I didn't know you could do that until after I made the video. So yeah, I discovered that after the video, you can actually go to a program, even if it's optimized for Apple Silicon, right-click on it and go to Get Info, and there will be an option to run it in Rosetta. So if you have a plugin or a specific feature in a program that needs an Intel chip, you can run that program in Rosetta as an Intel app, even if you are running on an Apple Silicon system. So it's actually pretty cool. Or rather, even if it's optimized for Apple Silicon, you can run it in Rosetta. You know what I mean. So yeah, I just didn't know that you could do that until after I posted the video. But thank you for your keen eye, and keep up the good work, I guess. Somebody asked, wait, what was the 4th word? I can sum this video up in 4 words. What the actual the fourth word was two more things. One of them actually really stood out because it seems sort of like a big issue, but on the same hand seems like something that maybe was just a PEBCAC issue. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to make assumptions, but we'll see. I'll read it out here and sort of give my input. For a start, let the customer know that when you're buying a Mac with an M1 chip, tell them beforehand that they need a wired keyboard and a mouse to get the machine up and running. Secondly, plain instructions telling the customer to plug in their wired keyboard and mouse instead of looking for two lines and a tiny green spot. It took me over an hour to work out what it was. Apple has now taken the minimalist view to the extreme. This is where we get to hating Apple a bit, and it's frustrating. Not everybody is intuitive. I don't know what that means. I was unable to install Rosetta. It told me that installing Rosetta on this Mac was not possible. So that meant that 4 of the apps that I use on a daily basis would not work. So after 11 hours, 2 conversations with Apple, I gave up and it's being returned to the store. All right, let's get started. So first off, when I started my Mac Mini up for the first time, even after it was restored, remember, I bought an open box. This is not fresh from Apple. This was somebody already used this and it was restored by whoever was selling it. I started it up for the first time and I didn't even get the language prompt first. I got a keyboard notice saying to plug in a wired keyboard and a wired mouse. And in my instance, I'm using the wireless Apple keyboard and wireless Apple trackpad. And the pairing process for those is just taking a lightning cord, plugging it into the keyboard, plugging it in for like 2 seconds on the Mac Mini, and then unplugging it. It's paired. Easy as that. Same thing goes with the keyboard, mouse, trackpad, all the stuff that is Apple Bluetooth related pairs that way. So I don't know why you weren't prompted with that, but it gives you very, very clear instructions. And even if, I'll put it up on screen here, because even if I disconnect the mouse and keyboard entirely, it's going to yell at me because it knows that I don't have a keyboard or mouse connected, and it's going to say, hey, you might want to plug something in if you actually want to use me. Getting to the whole minimalist to the point of being frustrating, yeah, the software is getting minimalist, but it still gives you very clear instructions on how to plug in the keyboard and mouse. And if you're talking about the Mac Mini being a minimalist design, they haven't actually changed the physical design of the Mac Mini in almost a decade. So if that was too minimalist for you, that would have been an issue in 2010. As for the Rosetta thing, I have no idea what would have caused that. The Rosetta thing, for me, the first app I opened, it just said, hey, you need to install Rosetta. I clicked OK, and it was done. The only thing I could think would be causing that issue is that on launch day, if you bought yours on launch day, I know Big Sur and a lot of applications coming from Apple servers were going insanely slow. And that was just because Apple servers were getting destroyed when they were doing those updates. So maybe you just happen to get on the bad side of a slow update server or something like that. But yeah, no, I got prompted with it once. Haven't been prompted with it again because it installed itself and we were ready to roll. As for the whole talking with Apple for a long time thing, I know Apple definitely tends to be slow with pushing solid training to their Apple Store employees. And I completely agree that if you are going to be on the phone with Apple, you need to be able to actually get a hold of somebody who is properly trained in the hardware that you are purchasing or using. And this was an issue that kind of cropped up when things like the iMac Pro came out. Snazzy Labs actually did a really cool video about how he had all these issues with his iMac Pro because nobody was actually properly certified to service it. And it's frustrating, but I can give the Pro stuff a pass because those are small volume machines. But the Mac Mini is the bread and butter of an Apple lineup for their cheap desktops. The MacBook Air is the default for anybody looking to buy a laptop from Apple. And the MacBook Pro is the default for anybody who wants a laptop from Apple and is willing to put a bit more money down for some better performance. So if those are going to be the first ones you're going to update, you need to make sure that everyone who has an Apple logo on their shirt at an Apple store behind the Genius Bar or anywhere near an Apple store with employment to you is fully trained on how to service those machines. I actually heard several horror stories of people formatting the drive improperly and not being able to actually recover it without a configurator tool, because recovery mode isn't Command R anymore. You actually hold the power button. So that's my ramble on this, but yes, I agree with you on the contacting Apple way too many times to try to get something resolved, because they need to train their employees better when a big product launch like this comes out. That's all I have to say about that. Last question. So the last question I saw a lot.
Yeah, and I know these Mac Minis are really good, but like, I hear there's
a lot of.
I would absolutely buy one, but I just.
Well, what about the Bluetooth? All right, you know what? Yes, the Bluetooth for me has worked just fine. I have sat down and edited an entire video with my AirPods connected to the Mac. My keyboard and mouse and my trackpad are all Bluetooth. I have even recorded audio through my AirPods, so that's both incoming and outgoing audio. So yes, I've had no Bluetooth issues. I know that there's been a few people who apparently have had issues, but I have not, so I can't really speak to that, but I appreciate all the comments. It was just a lot of them. And that's it. Those are a lot of the questions answered that you guys had about the Mac Mini. So again, thank you guys so much for all of the questions that you guys had, all of the views and all of the interest you guys had in this computer. I want to do a lot more coverage of it. I'm actually dedicating a single video per week to doing tech videos, whether it be cameras. I just bought a new Polaroid camera, Apple stuff, the Mac Mini and how my experience has been, my experience with my MacBook Pro and how much I hate it and I just can't wait to trade it in. And I'm also planning a video to talk about some issues I've had with Verizon and the new iPhone 12 Pro Max. So keep an eye out for those and make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, for anybody watching this who is a follower of my anime content is still going to be as normal 2 days a week. No problems there. So I hope to see you guys around. Apart from that, thanks for everything and I'll see you in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.